Hey there, hope you're well. Martin here, and happy International Happiness Day. Yeah, that's right, it's International Happiness Day, or at least it is whilst I'm recording this. You might be watching this in 6 months' time, in which case it's not. But the message is as relevant then as it is right now. So, we're going to talk about happiness. And I've had the privilege this afternoon of being with my friends at BBC Radio Gloucestershire, where we talked this through in the studio. And I'll drop the link so that you can see it. It's available for a certain amount of time and you'll be able to check that out. But in the absence of that, or if you haven't quite got the time to do that, stick with me right here, because I'm going to talk about some of the stuff that we talked about at Radio Gloucestershire, and also a few bits extra, because we only have so much time in the studio. So, happiness. First off, International Happiness Day. What is that all about? It's actually a United Nations initiative to spread, funnily enough, happiness and kindness around the world. That's got to be a good thing, right? And especially in these times that we're living in. In fact, I think when we talk about happiness, it can be very easy to kind of dismiss it, kind of like, oh yeah, happiness, whatever, yeah. But in a world that has become so uncertain, that is changing so much, with so much drama and so much noise out there, I think we need a bit of happiness more than ever before. And so the UN have this International Day of Happiness, and this year's themes for it are being mindful, being grateful, and being kind. So again, can we all agree that spreading a little bit more happiness, being a little bit more mindful, a bit present in the moment, being a bit more grateful, being a bit more kind, those things bring joy. They bring happiness. They are the juice of life. So that's what they're doing. And so I'm going to talk about those three themes: being mindful, being grateful, and being kind. Three great themes for this year. And just before we do that, I want to explore happiness being an inside job. Now, you might have heard this before, happiness being an inside job. And again, it's one of those things that's very easy to dismiss, or it's very easy to misinterpret or misunderstand. So let's just cover that here right now. What do we mean by happiness is an inside job? You see, most people, all people, get joy from external things. And this is where a misinterpretation can often happen. When we're saying it's an inside job, that doesn't mean that the external stuff can't have a big impact on our happiness. Of course it can. So the people that we spend time with, our partner, our children, our family, our friends, our neighbors, our colleagues, to spend good quality time with them can fill our cup, right? It can really make us happy. It can bring joy to our lives. The people we surround ourselves with has a significant impact on our quality of life. So yes, other people can bring happiness to us. Going on holiday, vacations can bring a lot of happiness. Getting some nice new shiny thing can bring us happiness, whether that's getting a new car. I love cars. Getting a new car is great. Definitely brings the joy and the happiness. If you're into shoes or hats or t-shirts or jeans, whatever it might be, they can bring happiness. We've got hobbies and pastimes, whether it's you're building Lego. I'm a complete nerd, by the way, so some of the examples are very nerdish. So it might be Lego building, or it might be Funko Pops, or it might be comics, it might be movies or music, listening to music, playing music, going to concerts and experiencing music. It could be sports, skateboarding, climbing, snowboarding, it could be football or rugby, whatever it might be. There are so many things that can bring us joy, that can bring us happiness. And like I said, some people can misinterpret it. When we start saying happiness is an inside job, it's as if all those other things don't matter. They matter. I'm saying right now, they absolutely matter. Go and get more of those things. They're the juice in life. They can bring us so much joy and happiness. So if you've got a few, go and figure out some other things that you could add to the list. And if you've got quite a few of those things already, great. Just be really in the moment and enjoy them. So where does the happiness is an inside job come in? Well, all of those external things, you can't be doing those things all the time. So there are going to be moments when you're not with your family, your friends, your colleagues. There are going to be moments when you're not on holiday. You can't be on holiday all of the time, as much as we might like to be. We're not. We can't be driving our new car all of the time. And in fact, when it comes to those sort of material things, I guess some people really give material things a bad name. And they go, oh, you shouldn't, it's materialistic, and you shouldn't. If they bring you joy, it's okay. As long as you can afford them, it's okay. It's good to have nice things. It's okay. With material things, what happens is that joy, that happiness that you get from them, how long does it actually last? And depending on the thing itself, is that hours, days, weeks, months, maybe 6 months at tops? And if you've worn your new shoes for a few weeks, they're no longer new, and they probably don't quite bring you the joy and the excitement that they did when you first bought them. And in the car, you still might love driving your car, but it hasn't, after 6 months, 8 months, it hasn't quite got that same level of happiness because it's not new. We're very quick to normalize things. And then we go chasing after the next thing that can make us happy. Sound familiar? So when it comes to things, the shelf life of the happiness can be short. It's like a holiday. We can get excited for weeks, months in advance. We can get excited afterwards when we're sharing about it. But eventually it can fade. So, and the pastimes and the hobbies, whilst we're doing them, it's amazing. And we might look forward to them and we can talk about them afterwards. But that happiness fades. This too shall pass. So I say, go and get those things. They're really important. Have many of these things, different types of things that are really lighting you up. That's a wonderful thing to have. But happiness being an inside job, it's the gaps in between. It's the moments when you're by yourself. And what sums this up perfectly for me is something that's in one of my favorite motivational talks of all time. It's a talk by Tom Bilyeu. It's called A Life Worth Remembering. I mean, so impactful is this. It's impacted me on trainings. I've actually built trainings and talks around a life worth remembering and the key messages that are in that motivational talk. That's how impactful it is. But in there, there's this line that's just stuck with me since the very first time I heard it. And it was, what really matters is what we think about ourselves when we're by ourselves. What we think about ourselves when we're by ourselves. You see, so many people are getting all this excitement and joy and happiness from all these other things, and that's wonderful. But then when they're by themselves, when they're in the house alone, when they're in bed looking at the ceiling and they can't get to sleep, how happy are they then? I mean, I spent 20 years in the corporate world climbing that ladder, and it looked like I was living the life. It looked like I had everything. I had a wonderful family, a great car, going on wonderful vacations, had lots of great experiences. But inside, in those quiet moments, I didn't feel good enough. I did not feel happy. So I have all those other things, but we've got to supplement that with, well, how do we really feel about us and our life and how we're living it? This is what happiness is an inside job is all about. Because if we rely on all those other things, we can't have all those things and experience all those things all of the time. We've still got to be happy with us. And if there are elements of our life that we're not happy with, then we have to have the courage to reach out to somebody to help us with it. And it could be your finances, or it could be your relationship, or it could be your health and well-being. It could be you professionally at work. It could be the balance that you've got in life. It's about looking at things and then making some changes, making some improvements so that you're not so unhappy about those things. And when you start making that progress, then that makes you feel happy because you're moving in the right direction. It may not be the ideal that you want at the moment, but you're moving in the right direction. And as human beings, we like that. We like purpose. We like to progress. We like improvement. We like to grow, we develop and move forward. So when it comes to happiness as an inside job, go and get all those external things. Great, as many as you can. Brilliant. Really be in the moment. Enjoy them to the max. But also step back and have a little think about when you're by yourself. What do you think about yourself? What do you think about the life you're living? That's what we mean by an inside job. So with that said, and drop your comments below about your thoughts about what that means for you, and whether that sparked anything for you. Let's move on to the 3 themes for this year's International Day of Happiness. And there are 3. The first one is being more mindful. Now, mindful and mindfulness, it's a whole industry in itself. And there's lots of different things you can do. I'm not here to get you to lie on the floor, do a body scan, or hold a raisin and look at it for 10 minutes and be really mindful, or mindful eating, or mindful walking, or mindful. I'm not going to go through all the different practices you can do. I want to keep this really, really simple. What does it really mean when we talk about being mindful and how it can help our happiness? What does it really mean? It just means being present in the moment, being mindful of the moment that we're in. So many of us spend a lot of our time in our past or in the future. We're worrying and judging ourselves for what's happened in the past, what we did do, what we didn't do, the mistakes we've made, what other people have said, what other people have thought in the past. Equally, we spend a lot of time in the future with things that are coming up, and we go, oh, am I good enough for that? How's that going to go? I'm worried that's not going to happen as we want to. It's not going to go to plan. I'm worried what other people are going to think. We spend so much time worrying about the future and the past that we kind of miss the moment. We're not in the moment. And I know with a lot of things going on, be that out there in the world and in our personal lives, I know it can be tough. It takes practice. But man, it's a beautiful skill to have. When you can be truly mindful, if you're with somebody and you're giving them your full attention, you're listening to them, you're understanding them, not to react, not to respond, not to fix, but just listening, which is something that they probably just need. They just want to be heard. And you're able to give that to somebody. What a gift that is. But you've got to be mindful. You've got to be in that moment to do that. If you're worrying and thinking about everything else, you're not paying attention to that other person. But the connection you can have, that relationship you can build, the happiness that you can have, both of you, in that moment, if you are in that moment, is beautiful. But it's the same with all of those things we've talked about in terms of being on holiday, or your pastimes, your hobbies. Don't take them for granted. Really be in the moment. Be mindful. And there's an example I use often is the school run. So the school run, for me, for 20 years in the corporate world, and just a bit of background in terms of that. 20 years in the corporate world, climbing that corporate ladder, did a lot of good things by my colleagues, clients, the business, the industry at large. So, there's a lot of good stuff in there, but I paid a massive price because the only strategy I had was to work harder and longer with an ever increasing to-do list, an ever increasing number of responsibilities and commitments. But working harder and longer just means working longer hours, which meant my life was completely out of balance. I wasn't spending the quality of time I wanted with my family. And low-level stress turned into high stress, turned into depression, turned into generalized anxiety disorder, turned into insomnia, liver disease, burnout, self-harm, and ultimately wanting to take my life. So I have experienced every facet of stress. And mornings used to be one of my most stressful times because the school run was rushing to get your kids to school on time so they weren't late, and then rushing to work. And I see this today. I see all the parents, they're just stressed. They're zooming down the road. They're dragging their kids behind them. And, it was me. And sometimes on a conference call at the same time. Nowadays, because I've learned and I've practiced it, the school run is no longer that stressful thing where it's just a rush from A to B. It's one of my favorite moments of the day. It's a time when I've got a 20-minute walk to school. I walk my youngest to school. 20-minute walk there and a 20-minute walk back. Do that in the morning, do that in the afternoon. I get 40 minutes with my youngest. No tech, no distractions, no telly, no computer, no phones, just me and him. And sometimes it's about setting him up for the day because he might be worried about something, or we're revising something as we're going along. But very often we're just talking about other things. We're talking about video games, the latest pack to get, the latest level up that we've had, the next upgrade that we're looking forward to, or we're thinking about movies, and we just spend that time. We're really in the moment. I get to do that every day. And it is a privilege and a pleasure, and it's me being very mindful of that. It's going to take us just as long, no matter what. If I was stressed and busy and thinking about anything else and didn't engage with much, it would take me just as long to get to school and back. But if I choose to be really present, be mindful with him, we have a great connection. We have more quality time together than we ever have. It used to just be a rush. So it's just one example where you can really do that. And on the way back, I'm walking back, I'm being mindful. I'm seeing the blue sky. I'm listening to the birds. I'm seeing the trees. I'm seeing the green grass. I'm seeing in spring, as we record this, all the flowers and the blossom coming out. And it's beautiful. And for some of you, it's like, well, it's a bit woo-woo and whatever. It's a beautiful world out there if you're willing to pay attention to it. And this is what being mindful is all about. So look for the moments when you can be mindful with the things you do, with the people that you do it with. And sometimes some of the mundane chores, the mundane things that you do regularly, that you've just got into the routine, if you're just a little bit more mindful about those things, they can bring a next level of joy to your life. Simple things. Like I say, I like to simplify things. Don't make it overcomplicated. So when it comes to being mindful and it leading to happiness, that's what we mean. That's what we mean. There's a lot of different things you can do, and people can overcomplicate it. Let's just keep it simple. Be in the moment. There's a reason why they call the present a gift. And I know it's cliche. I know it's corny, but it's true. It's so true. So being mindful. The second theme that the UN says about with International Day of Happiness is gratitude. Now this is again one of those words that gets thrown around and can be easily dismissed or easily misinterpreted and definitely not used. But gratitude is so powerful. But what is it? Again, I'm not here to encourage you to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and write a list of 1,000 things that you're grateful for, right? Again, some people over-engineer this stuff, they overcomplicate it, and they make it inaccessible. I'm just here to say, what are you grateful for? And this could take seconds. Like right now, you could say 3 things that you're grateful for. And it might be the people in your life, your partner, your children, your family, your colleagues, all the same things that we're grateful for, the hobbies that I've got. Grateful for the roof over my head. Grateful for my health. You can be grateful for a great many things. Again, you don't have to overthink it. But you start racking up all the different things that you're grateful in your life, it makes a difference. It goes in here. This brain that actually is designed just to keep you safe. It's not here to make you happy. It's here to look for all the threats in the world, all the things that are changing, all the uncertainty. You can imagine it's on overdrive right now. So we have to work really, really hard to look for the joy, look for the happiness, look for the positives, look for the stuff that's improving, look for the stuff that's going well in our lives and out there in the world. We've got to work really hard. So we've got to purposely, deliberately, and intentionally bring gratitude into our lives. Otherwise, we won't have it because our brain doesn't naturally go there. So I encourage you just to think about some stuff that you're grateful for. And at the base level, this is something that I think of every day, and there's a practice I do every day, and it doesn't get any more foundational than this. There are two things. The first thing, it took trillions of things over billions of years to align for you and I to be here right now. Me having this conversation with you, trillions of things over billions of years had to align for you and I to be here. If one or two things were different, we wouldn't be here. That's the miracle of life. That's the gift of life. And this isn't about religion or anything like or whatever else you believe. Bottom line, trillions of things have had to align over a very long time for you and I to be here. Man, that's worth doing something with, right? Again, you don't have to understand that in depth. Just a high level understanding of, wow, it is pretty miraculous that I'm here in the first place. Maybe I should make something of that. Maybe those things that I'm unhappy with, maybe I should do something about them. And the second thing, which leads on from that, is every morning I repeat to myself this thing. I take a really deep breath from the diaphragm so that my lungs fill up. I say, I got air in my lungs. And then I squeeze my fist so I can really feel my arms, feel the blood pumping. I got blood in my veins. I've got a beautiful family. The sun is shining. It's going to be a good day. I've got air in my lungs. I've got blood in my veins. I've got a beautiful family. The sun is shining. It's going to be a good day. I'll do that 2 or 3 times. It takes me seconds to do, but it anchors in my day. Now, why would I say these things? If I've got air in my lungs and blood in my veins, I'm alive. It means no matter what is going on out there, I can do something. I can make a decision. I can make a choice. I can take an action. I can choose to do something different. I can choose to change something, improve something, overcome something, achieve something, walk away from something. I've got that choice because I'm alive. And that miraculous gift that I've got, I'm going to use it. And I remind myself of that. Should you really have to remind yourself that you're alive every morning? No, but if you deliberately and intentionally remind yourself about it, you're going to act differently. You're going to feel different about it. Let's just pick up on the couple of other things. I say about, I got a beautiful family. Family is everything to me. Everything. Even in my darkest moments, they were my everything. So I am very, very grateful for my family. Maybe, I know some people don't have that close-knit family around them. So who have you got? Have you got a friend, a neighbor, a colleague, someone in your life? Or choose something else that you're grateful for. And the one that gets people every time is, I say, the sun is shining. and somebody will come along and say, hey, Martin, you haven't looked out the window. The sun's not shining, it's cloudy. Or it's raining. Kind of cloudy and raining right now. It's stormy. Sun's not shining, Martin. What are you talking about? Right? The sun is always shining. And I'm not trying to be clever, because I ain't. Right? But the sun is always shining. That big ball of gas burning in the solar system, that thing's shining. Again, if it wasn't, we wouldn't be here. I guess there's a metaphor to it that I remind myself about. There's always light at the end of the tunnel. The clouds, the rain, the storm, that too shall pass. Blue skies will follow. The sun will follow. It's a beautiful reminder that no matter what's going on, no matter what obstacles or challenges or how dark things may feel, that will pass. We will find a way. We can find a way. We can reach out to somebody to help us. So at a very base level, when it comes to gratitude, the very fact that you're here, 180,000 people a day die around the world. You're not one of them. It means you can make a difference still. You can do something. You can do something that's the same. You can do something that's different. You can improve something. You can maintain something. You can achieve something. You've got that at a base level. Be grateful for that. And you might not have all the answers to what it is or how to go about things. And that's okay. I always thought I needed all the answers. I don't have all the answers. I don't even have all the questions. And when you realize that, it kind of liberates you. Because then you go, well, I'll find out who has got some answers. It becomes a game. It becomes a joy to be able to go and ask and go, you know what? I'm struggling with this. I don't know how, I have no clue how to do this thing. Could you help? I have no clue how to overcome this thing. And I can tell you now, one conversation, one courageous conversation saved my life. So I believe with every fiber of my body that reaching out is the most courageous thing you can do. It's not a sign of weakness. You know, you thinking you need to know all the answers, you don't. And as soon as you get over that, then that's going to really light you up. It's really going to lead you to new paths that can really help you and live your happiest life, which is what I'm here to do. You know, I help people, you know, with my, be it life coach or stress coach or breakthrough coach. The whole premise of what I do is to help you live your best life, your most extraordinary life, your happiest life. That's what I help people do. Break through the things that are holding them back. Very often it's work stress, but it can be confidence and self-belief and all manner of things too. I help individuals do that, and I help teams in organizations do that. There's so much that we can be grateful for. And so I just encourage you, just pick a couple of things and maybe just repeat them to yourself every day. And maybe if you're writing them down, add to them over time. You'll be amazed at just how many things there are to be grateful for, and the power that has. The power to bring happiness to you, to light you up in a different way, to bring energy to your life that maybe you didn't have before because you were just looking at all the doom and gloom and what's gone wrong and all the mistakes and everything else, all the drama. When we start switching it up and going, actually, what's in my control? What am I grateful for? Different quality of life. Different quality of life. The final theme for International Day of Happiness is kindness. Kindness. Simple as that. Kindness. Again, something that can be bantered around a lot, dismissed, going, oh, kindness, yeah, whatever. We're just going to get the job done. You know, kindness. It's just like one of those woo-woo things. But you know, if somebody has ever sat down with you and really paid attention to you, they've been mindful. They've let you talk your frustrations out, or you've ranted about whatever's gone on in your life. The kindness shown by somebody else to be there, to listen, to not judge. You needed that in that moment, didn't you? I've had many, many moments like that. That's kindness. Helping somebody with their shopping, carrying it to the car, kindness. Helping the neighbour with his fence, kindness. Helping somebody out figure something out, kindness. Paying it forward and paying for the person's coffee that's coming, kindness. But it doesn't have to be extravagant. It doesn't have to cost money. It just a little bit of time, a little bit of thought. Kindness. A smile to a stranger with a cheery good morning. Maybe they just needed to hear that in that moment. And maybe they'll just smile back. Maybe they'll just feel a little bit better than what they were. It costs you nothing to give a smile and a good morning, but it can mean the world to somebody else. That's kindness. As with all these things, you don't have to overcomplicate it. Just keep it simple. Keep the gratitude simple. Keep the mindfulness simple. Keep the kindness simple. And one of the most powerful thing is giving somebody your time. And I know we're all busy. I know we don't have time. But you do really. So being kind, really, really powerful. And just to wrap this whole session up, one final thing I'm going to share with you. One final thing is there's a formula for happiness. Get that. So for all your scientific, mathematical people, there is a formula for happiness. Let me get this right. It is LC equals BP equals happiness. LC equals BP equals happiness. What the heck are you talking about, Martin? Life conditions, when your life conditions equal your blueprint for life, you'll be happy. But when your life conditions don't meet your blueprint for life, you'll be unhappy. So what does this mean? Everybody has a blueprint for how they think their life should be, how they think the world should be, how they think other people should respond and react to them. Everyone has an expectation and a blueprint for what their health should be, or their finances should be, or the difference that they're making, or their relationships should be. Whether you've thought about this or not, you have a blueprint stored in the back of your mind. Have you ever had something like kind of exciting maybe or positive to say, and you've said it to somebody else, and you are just expecting, your blueprint for this interaction is that the other person is going to get just as excited as you do and be really positive about it. But you say the words and they respond completely differently. They're like, oh, I don't agree with that. I don't agree. No. What are you talking about? Have you ever had one of those moments? And you just stops you in your tracks. How do you feel in that moment? You don't feel too happy, do you? You don't feel. And people can either then react with frustration or anger, or they'll say nothing and then just feel really bad. It's because there was a blueprint. We had an expectation of how the other person was going to react, and they didn't. And when they didn't, it caused us some unhappiness. That's a real simple example of this. But we have it in all areas of life. We have a blueprint for how we think our life should be. And often there's like, life should be fair. Well, very often life isn't fair. So we've got to figure out, how do we navigate this life? How do we get the most out of it? How can we be happy? How can we be productive? How can we move forward? How can we make a difference? Take control of the things that are in our control, not focus on all the stuff that's not. So we all have this blueprint. So our life conditions are the reality of our life, how we're living our life, what's happening in our life. So when what's happening in our life meets the blueprint that we think, if we think we should have a certain level of fitness and we've got a certain level of fitness, then we're going to be happy. If we feel like our relationship should have a certain intimacy or connection and we've got that, we're going to be happy. If it doesn't, we won't be happy. Now, it doesn't mean that we'll be completely distraught, but there's going to be an element of our life where we're just not going to be as happy as we are in other areas. And this is the thing about happiness, not just one thing about I am happy. We can be happy with different areas of our life, and there might be one over here that we're just really unhappy with, and we've got to figure out, well, what are we going to do about that? Are we just going to say, well, actually, I'm not going to do anything about it and just suck it up? Or am I going to do something about it? And this is kind of where this then comes in, because if we're unhappy, if these things don't balance, our life conditions and our blueprint don't balance, then what we can do is we can either change the living conditions. So if there's an area of our life, if there's our fitness, for example, or let's use something I help a lot of dads with, for example, that balance in their life. If they don't have the balance, if they're just working way too hard and way too long and not spending the quality time with their family, if they have that, and they're feeling really stressed and frustrated and exhausted as a result of that, we can choose to do something about it. We can choose to go and get some help from somebody like me who's already been there, done it, spent 27 years of pain, suffering, trial and error, trying to figure this stuff out, and maybe has learned a few things along the way and can help you so that you don't go through all that pain and suffering. You can do that. You're taking action. You can change your living conditions. You can change what's happening in your reality, because that's the power of choice and decision and action that we've got as a human being. It's beautiful when we really deliberately focus on that. So we can change the thing. It's the same with our fitness. If our fitness isn't where we want it to be, then do something about it. We can do, and I know it's like, it can be trite to say that because we go, yeah, but I'm busy and time. But what's really holding you back? Because if it's important enough, then we'll find some time. But again, you often need some help to kind of figure this out and navigate and move to a kind of a new way of your routine or new way of life to help you unlock that next level that you so desperately want. So you can change the living conditions, or you know what we can do? We can change our blueprint. And what do we mean by this? Most people have such a long checklist of things that have to be right in order for them to feel happy. They're either delaying happiness, go, I'll be happy when this happens, when I've got enough money, when I'm not working so many hours, when the relationship's better, when this and when that. This long old list of all the things, when all that's met, then I'll be happy. But that list is so long. It's perfection. You're never going to, it's what I call the 32nd of never-ery. You're going to reach that, which means you're going to spend an awful lot of time being very unhappy, either generally in life or about that one thing in life. So what we can do, that blueprint, instead of having 50 things that we've got to meet in order to be happy, we can just go, right, well, actually, in the scheme of things, 2 or 3. 3 to 5, absolutely max. 3 to 5 things that when they're in place, I'm going to feel happy. And sometimes those 5 things, you don't need all 5 things. It's like, if I've got 3 or 2 out of 5, then I'm going to be happy because I'm going to be mindful and grateful for those things, knowing I'm moving forward as a result. We can simplify your blueprint, simplify the criteria you're using to live a happy life, your best life, your most extraordinary life, your best relationship, your best health, your best business, your best finances, your best balance in life. Simplify the blueprint you have, and you're going to find that you meet it more often than not, which, guess what, brings happiness. And by the way, reward yourself when you do those things, because you certainly don't reward yourself when you have a list of 30 or 50 things to meet. And what we do, I used to do this a lot in that 20 years that were my dark times. I could knock off 48 things, and because I didn't do the 2 things, wouldn't be happy. There would be no meaningful purpose, feeling of success or achievement, because I hadn't done the 2 things out of 50, not giving any credit for everything else that I'd done. The formula for happiness, our living conditions, when they equal our blueprint for life, will equal happiness. And if they don't balance, then we'll be unhappy. But we can do things about it. We can change our reality, or we can change our blueprint, or indeed we could change both and make it even easier to change those living conditions. So my friends, this is happiness, International Day of Happiness. I want to kind of cover everything, what that day was all about, what happiness being an inside job really means, and those gaps, being by ourselves, what we think about ourselves when we're by ourselves, but still have all those other things that can bring happiness, but make sure we're happy inside in the first place. And then looking at mindful, being more present in the moment, being more grateful, purposely, intentionally picking out things that we're grateful for every day. Put a notification in your phone in the morning. Let the notification go off and say, what are 3 things that you're grateful for? Do that every day and see what happens. And then equally, where are moments in life where you can be kind, more kind? First off, kind to yourself. Whatever mistakes you've made, whatever your past you've had, whatever's been going on in the past, be more kind to yourself about that, and know that you're living in this moment and that you can make change. You can make a choice and a decision to do things different. You can improve things. You can overcome things. You can achieve things going forward. The past doesn't have to hold you back. In fact, use the past as your fuel, your rocket fuel to a better future. And in that form, just for a bit of fun, but again, for those more process-minded people out there, the formula for happiness. When things aren't how we expect them to be or want them to be, we're going to be unhappy. So what can we do about that? I hope you found this useful. I hope you had some fun along the way. Please do share, comment below, any light bulb moments, anything you're going to do differently now. I'd love to hear from you. Not because I'm nosy, but because I care. I know that is just as easy to dismiss and go, oh yeah, whatever, you don't know me, Martin. Trust me, I care. Having had the dark times that I've been through, I don't want anybody to experience even a smidgen of what I did. I'm not talking about all the really dark stuff, just all that stress or not feeling like you're making the difference you want to. Not feeling good enough, not feeling like you're living what you were supposed to be here for, or whatever it might be. It's like, if you think there's more inside you, there probably is. You probably just need a little bit of support to get you there. So share what it is. I really genuinely care, and I hope you found value from this. And I look forward to hearing from you, and indeed doing another video for you soon. International Day of Happiness. Hope this has been helpful, useful, privilege and a pleasure to deliver it for you as always. And go be happy.